pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Marty.
Morning, Marty. Okay, we'll start off first with the approved the agenda. We've got one addition, which Neil added, was the House File 468, the mental health advocate. Is there anything else to add or any corrections? If not, we're in order for motion to approve with the addition.
So moved.
I'll second that. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, with that, we've got the minutes from last Monday's board meeting. Everybody had a chance to review those?
They appear to be all in order. I'll make a motion that we, or do you have something?
Just a couple of typos.
Oh,
The content was very good in the minutes, it's all we covered.
you must have read it
I
quick.
didn't catch me there, so.
On earth drill boring, it's B-O-A-R-I-N-G.
Oh,
It should
yeah.
be B-O-R-I-N-G, but there's no, that's the way it is. And the payables at presented should be payables as presented, but the content was very good, Courtney.
Okay, with those two corrections, I'll still make a motion to approve it.
Okay, got a motion, need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, first item on the agenda is the public hearing zoning classification change. And we'll open up the public hearing for that change. It's in section 9 of Maple River Township. Carl?
Good morning, Alan.
Good morning,
Carl.
Is that boring reference?
Yeah, I was hoping we'd glaze right over that. Apparently not.
I would ask everybody to kind of speak up today. One of the members of the audience is a little hard of hearing, and my battery went out this morning, so wouldn't mind that would have. So the only other comment I had received, I did receive a call from Bob Augustine. Wanted me to reiterate his letter that he had sent, or email that he had sent, and received a copy of, that he would still like to be able to farm that, maybe perhaps purchase it, so he is out of the country for right now, but he did want me to reiterate that, and I said I'd pass that message along to you.
Brian?
I did talk to him, and he did not want to purchase it. He wants us to give it to him. So, that was what we got out of that conversation. So, as it was offered to him again, he did not want to buy it.
Anybody told me.
Okay. Okay.
I talked to him after he talked to you.
Okay. And what did he say?
Well, he wants to work with you on it, is what he told me.
He does not want to give any money for it. Is that correct?
That's not what he told me.
Okay, what money was he going to give for it?
He didn't mention no money.
He said, if we gave him the ground, he would let us run a water line through his property, but he will not give money for it, is what he told me. He doesn't want to buy it.
He never mentioned that to me.
Okay, so that's what he told me. So, okay.
Okay.
So basically, to reiterate, the proposal is that area there,
Teal color.
kind of teal color is proposed, is right now zoned A1 agriculture, and the request is to rezone that B1 business to put in a bar. And I believe the discussion last week was centered on sewer, water ownership, and floodplain issues.
Well, the DNR floodplain
Right.
issue.
And Brian, I talked to Brian a little bit on that last week as far as the DNR floodplain. And basically what they're looking at is putting fill in there, it'd be about, I think, 2 feet above the road is what you'd make out.
Yes, which, can I show on here? It'd be going in, we wanted it over here, we gotta stay 74 foot away from the creek. So it now has to be moved this way. So we're 150 foot from the property line right here, over will be the front, and it'll be in here like this. And we cannot fill the parking lot. So I don't know, you guys don't have a,
We don't have a requirement on elevation of the
Yeah.
parking lot. There's just a
on
number of
building.
stalls per, you know.
yes,
for the
yes.
business.
And the problem is, they're saying capacity wise, if we fill, we're taking away capacity for the river, and this road acts as a dam, and they need more capacity, so they don't want us filling any more than we have to for the, building site only.
Building site.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So right here, and the engineer's gonna be there tomorrow morning to verify that that where that's gonna go is gonna work, so.
So just the pad, essentially, for
building
the,
pad.
for the
The pad
building
has to
pad,
be
2 feet above the road?
2 feet above this road right
So
here.
you're talking,
6 foot of fill right here,
Yeah,
2 foot of fill right here, 2 or 3 right here.
so then you're gonna have parking around the building then on the north side as well?
Right now, adequate parking, more than adequate parking. I think we figured, what, 50 stalls would just fit right here. And
Okay.
I think 30 stalls with roughly what you need. So there's plenty of room to go bigger, but this is low, and it'd probably be better off just keeping it focused on over here for now.
Okay.
So, and yeah, pilings, doing anything like that is not, it's gotta be totally engineered, and they said stay away from it. So we're just gonna fill it with dirt, and then might have put buttress wall around the backside. So, but underneath it, if it's all dirt, it's no problem. So.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone?
And you probably saw one of our surveys is for,
mhm.
The recorded, you said okay the survey?
Yeah, we have to approve the plat.
Okay.
Yep, that's later on in the meeting.
That's why it was not done.
Yeah. Mhm, yeah. Yep, that's on the agenda.
Do you have
Under
an
item number
abstract
9.
on place then, or
We're working on that.
still working on that?
Yep. I think you need to really finish it. Yes.
Okay.
And then Gene, Bill said he talked to you, Richmond.
And I didn't get back to him, I've been busy, and that's in regard to the sewer.
Yes, he said the DNR has nothing to do with that.
Right, and I've had a lot of conversations. I've had conversations with the operator of the Maple River system and also with Carrie, our sanitarian. And she has been, and I think you've all got an email from, she
Right.
had some
Aranco.
questions from Aranco.
Yeah.
And I'm really, it seems like the more we get into this, the more questions that come up on it. Are you really set on hooking onto the Maple River system, or are you thinking about doing your own?
If I have enough room, I could possibly do my own, but I'd rather up to you.
Yeah, and it all gets down to an issue of that grease. And you said you weren't planning on doing any restaurant?
No.
But you know how, and here's my point, and I'm doing this for, the county owns that system, and we need to protect that system. We don't want to have something happen to it, we want it a big expense. And grease will screw that system up big. Now, that's probably the biggest issue I have. And you say you're not going to have grease, but history of bars and restaurants tend to be not long-lived, and then someone else comes in and buys it. So we have to look at down the future too, what's going to happen. The next person may put a restaurant in there and do a lot of different things, and we don't know that, and we can't.
Have you talked to Bill? I mean, I could put grease traps in right away.
Yeah, I talked to him, but I did not get back to him because I was on the road Friday in conversations, and then we left for the weekend. But my biggest issue is this grease, and I think we need to get some more answers from yous, what Carrie's saying with what the Oranco, and they could do some calculations possibly. We need to get some answers from our own system. Now, Jared told me that he thinks we have capacity. He didn't give me the flows, but he was talking about the UV, where the UV, that's the light thing in there that kills stuff. We have capacity there, and we also have capacity as far as the pumps. But the thing that could screw this whole thing up would be the grease.
You're saying if it goes to another, somebody purchases it, and that's where they get, isn't there a clause or something that something like that, if there is grease created or if it goes to food, they gotta change their septic system anyways?
Well, they're even suggesting even putting in enough systems in here, grease trap and enough storage for 3 days on both sides on yours. And Jared also said that as far as the water itself, he said probably be good. But with what I'm finding here, I'm really questioning if we want it over there. Now, I will say this, the other thing is, I will argue that we're not gonna own any of that system or that line of yours. I don't want the responsibility underneath that road in case it collapses. That's some of the things I have issue with. But I'm more looking at protecting the system down the road, because we got a lot of money invested there. I do not want to have to go through that nightmare again. Now, I mean, and Carrie made the comment to me that you could probably put your own system in there. It depends on what the ground level, water level is in your area. And, or you could probably put your own Advantech system in there and have your own grease traps. So I think that's something I don't know if we can answer that all today, because we don't have a lot of unknowns yet. You know, I think we can go ahead and approve it subject to, you know, some sort of system being put in. I don't think you're gonna be without a system. It might be, you're gonna have it on your own and discharge on your own. But that's the big concern I have, is this grease.
If they do go to, if they have a system in place and then they go to grease though, the question is the system doesn't, the city's gotta reissue it or redo it, correct?
Well,
I guess
something.
I'm at a loss that if they go to grease, the system.
They would have to put more system in there. And
You can't do that without putting a system in.
Right. Well,
You're saying somebody could do that?
either way, you'd have to have that system in there. You'd have to have a grease trap in there. Now, I mean, are you gonna have some sort of, any kind of pizzas or anything in there? You know, all that stuff creates a certain amount of grease trap. I think we're gonna want that grease trap in there regardless.
I think it would behoove us, in the event that the unknowns or the future, you know, whatever create, something that had occurred to me over the weekend too, and again, Carrie's not here, but up until about 2 or 3 years ago, Carrie's department also managed some of the food inspections, with the food inspections in this county. We no longer do that, so we're gonna lose that synergy between, you know, the same office that does the food inspections and the sewer system, because now that's done by the state.
So then what?
Entirely different entity.
So we may not know.
Right. So that's just something that occurred to me over the weekend, that we
It's not
don't have that
regulated.
control factor anymore. Right.
Okay. So if something happened down the road, it could happen and
Right.
have grease in there,
Right.
nobody's gonna know.
Right.
Yeah, somebody puts a bunch of fryers in it, and, you know, and the burger thing.
Doesn't the grease ever probably go or not? I mean, if they hold
Well, it
it separate.
does,
some-
but it does, but you have you're washing dishes and stuff like that.
Oh, and it pulls off, yes.
Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah.
So there's no way to get around that then if that's the case. with
Yeah.
dishes. Okay, understand.
We've had so many issues with non-compliance up in Mount Carmel that it's enough to make your head spin. And what we invest another $75,000 in that system post-installation, just to accommodate non-compliance.
And we're still having issues up there.
We're still
And
having
a lot of it
issues.
is, people do not understand, and we're trying to educate them. But if you don't use the systems properly, you're gonna screw them up.
Yes.
And so we're still having some issues up there yet. And it's just because some people haven't grasped the knowledge of how to operate it.
Can a septic field be under a parking lot?
No.
No.
Okay. But then there's a separation distance from the creek too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. I haven't been in that business for a while.
Yeah.
But,
Talk to Carrie
You'd have to
on
talk
that.
to Carrie.
you
And
got-
Bill would
you
know
have to have-
too.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have
Yeah.
air, you know, you can't put a parking lot over a septic system. You need the air to be able to interact to take care of the
Leach
waste,
field.
so.
They'd have to do a perk test too, in order to see if the soil's viable for it. If you put it in there.
But as I read, say it's fairly hydraulic, so it'd be
Yeah.
more difficult than what we think, but maybe
Mhm.
it's.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the thing could be, maybe you put your own system in and then put one of those Advantech systems there to treat it finally, you know, after you got the grease out of it. You could do that all on site then too. I mean, it's not like we don't have any options here, but my main concern is protecting the system we have in Maple River now, and not have that cost go down on any other constituents out in that area. Because once it happens, we don't know where it's coming from. We can maybe assume, but to prove it might be hard.
Because you're not regulating, there's nobody expecting it from the county.
Yeah,
Right.
well, and we do inspect those, and we do inspect the systems inside that system. Their septic tanks, we inspect them and pump them.
But not the restaurant part.
Yes,
Right.
so if it went straight to the facility, there's no way of monitoring what's happening.
Right.
So I guess I would, you know, I have no problems with this here, except I would like to leave this open. And I think there needs to be more discussion between Terry and Jared Hayes, our operator, and maybe get some things. 'Cause I went and pulled the blueprint and really didn't have any specs on it for what capacities or anything like that. So we have to do some flow testing out there. But I think we're open to options anyway. It's not like we're tied down.
So you're open to it, but
Yeah.
as long as there's stipulations on the grease.
But personally, I would just soon have you put your own system in myself. I just see problems coming someday. And I think for in your interest, it'd probably be wise to build it with that anticipation someday. Because otherwise you're not gonna you may not have the room afterwards to do it, but by doing it now, you may have that room, you know?
I would see it as being down the line, if you guys ever get tired of it, you know, it would make it far more marketable that way as well. I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of business plan then.
Yeah.
But, you know, once that's already done, rather than somebody having to do all that from scratch, I would think it'd make it more. That's my only underlying concern with this whole thing from a county perspective. I understand floodplain has to be met, and we still have to have the abstract to find out who really owns what. But from a county perspective, my only underlying concern remains with being tied onto our septic. Gene said it well. I have a question that maybe either one of you guys could answer. This little dog-leg piece of ground that you guys have been farming with Mr. Augustine, and this doesn't impact my decision on this, but I'm just curious. What's the tillable? Is that an acre or so? Are we talking
0.9?
just barely under an acre? The advantage is being able to turn around and move, you know, more so than just that little bit of ground. It's just being able to turn around and farm it, you know, more suitably. I get it.
Well, and that he owns the rest of it, you know.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
There's no boundary fence or anything there at this point.
Right.
But I'm, you know what the history of bars are, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not wrong, am I?
No.
7 years kind of seems to be a niche number.
We'll look into it. As long as, since the engineer's gonna be there tomorrow too, as long as there's no issue with being close to creek. I don't know, but you said Bill was.
Yeah, I talked to Bill or Kerry.
Yeah, I haven't gotten back to him. I was still getting this information late Friday, and I did ask Jared. I said, if you had the decision today, if you wanted them hooked on or not, and because he did make the comment we could use the water, he said I would vote no, just because of the grease factor.
As far as the volumes you were talking about, I talked to Jared probably 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he said currently they're taking about 6,500 gallons a day. That can take up to 30,000 gallons a day. So he said capacity is not an issue.
Yeah, the UV.
Yeah.
That pumps is less than that.
Mhm.
I have a quick question, just because I do the billing for this. We already have a bar on this system, and there was no issue.
Well, I think they've got they have the grease trap put in at that time too. But
I
there
just
again,
didn't know, can we
they
say
are.
one can be and one can't be?
Well, and I thought about that. The thing is, they're right now, currently they are too, just the pizza and the minimum stuff, they're not, not what you call a restaurant. Yeah, if that gets to be an issue, that could be concerning again.
But we wouldn't know.
Well, we will know when they come.
Well, now we would
The
know.
only way we're gonna know is when they get their license and they put the bigger sinks in there and the requirements, that's when we're gonna know it.
When Gus's was there, they had
Yeah,
quite a bit more.
yeah. But I don't think they have that much.
Years ago.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Well, I didn't
Actually,
say
I've been-
yes to one and no to the other.
Good
This
point.
this was going down my mind
Yeah,
all
that's a good
weekend,
point.
even as I was driving Interstate 80, and I shouldn't have been.
Brian and Mike, you guys were talking a parking lot of approximately 50 cars. Is that
The measurement area is the size of roughly, armory building.
Okay.
It's gonna be larger than that, and that's 50 spaces.
Okay.
Parking's no problem.
So that fits well with your approximate seating capacity and so on?
There's gonna be more parking than what's necessary.
Okay. A little bit of concern about, anybody on a busy night parking on the road,
Yes.
and that's kind of a blind corner there anyway, so. Quarter from the railroad. Yeah. We hope things are that busy for you, but, okay.
Yeah, when you go out there in person, that space between the bridge and the railroad track seems a lot smaller than it does
It sure
on the
does.
picture.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
We're turning a semi around there, no problem, just in the area where the parking, I mean, it's a lot larger than what it seems. We were worried about that.
Any other questions or comments? Danny, Al? If not, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And with that, we need to vote on the zoning classification change from ag to business.
And if you do that today, you would need to waive the third hearing, because it is an amendment to the zoning map,
Okay.
which is part of the ordinance.
We then either have a third hearing or waive it to vote on it, correct?
Right.
Well, I see no problem with moving ahead with it. I think, again, we'll have the issue with the floodplain and the sewer system that we have to address between, and I would suggest that we, Carrie and you get together and through this whole thing, we'll get something worked out. And maybe Bill, because when I talked to Bill, he was kind of even talking about possibly the own system too.
Yeah, he said.
Yeah. And that would suit me.
Simplify things, yeah.
The DNR's involved, that's the only.
The DNR is only involved with this floodplain.
They're not.
They're not involved with this,
They have nothing to do with it.
that's just between us.
So whatever Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry and the chair doesn't want to have him involved too, because he operates the system. He understands the permit better than any one of us here, so.
But they would become involved if they did their own septic, correct?
The DNR?
Yes, no,
That
not
would
at
be
all.
done with,
No,
through
okay.
Carrie's
No,
office.
no, environmental health.
That would be all
It's
of
solely
them.
county then. Yeah.
Solely county. So with that, I'll make a motion on those two stipulations is on approval of DNR and the floodplain issues, and that we get something resolved on the sewer systems.
How about the ownership abstract?
Oh, the ownership? Well, that too, but I assume they've got.
Well, I think when you talk about the ownership, the actual property, well, I guess that, yeah, that is in that piece, as far as the teal.
Last week, if I got my
Yeah.
notes right, our contingencies were determination of ownership, floodplain approval, the septic, and access to water.
Water, yeah, those are the
Those
four
are the
things
four.
I
You got
got.
the water taken care of?
They don't think it's gonna be a problem, they're gonna come down the other side of the road.
And the thing is that we certainly can change the zoning of that, but it's kind of senseless to do that unless you have access to water, or approved septic, the DNR approval to build, and the ownership straight. So that's why I think that should be a contingency.
It appears that there's no problem with the ownership of the property where you actually want to build.
Yes.
Do you guys think they have?
But for us
Yeah.
to approve the rezoning with that 0.9 acres in there.
Well, and if we do approve that zoning, Dean, if you're concerned about it, it still could be farmed yet, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's not like it's.
Okay.
Okay.
By doing the zoning, you just allow those uses in that area. It doesn't mean that they have to put uses in there.
Well, I'll rephrase my motion to include all those things that Neil listed there.
Okay. Brian, you have a comment?
Does Augustine plan on contesting the ownership?
I don't have any idea.
And just a note on that, I talked to John Worden in the hall, and basically said, ownership really isn't our concern.
That's right.
That's between landowners.
That it is a civil matter, and just by rezoning it, you're not really, it isn't,
Changing that.
yeah, you're not.
But I think what Neil's saying is, there's no use changing ownership, zoning if the ownership isn't correct.
That's the perspective, and I
Right.
agree, I agree that determination of ownership is not our situation at all.
So in the end, doesn't today's motion just mirror last Monday's motion?
Yes,
Okay.
but and then I would, then also with that, waive the third reading, I think. Because I don't think we need to revisit this. I think we got the
No.
issues out here that we need
So
to
we'd be
resolve.
done
and-
with
So the sewer, water, and ownership,
And-
next Monday to be finalized,
Yeah.
with the okay that the
There
DNR
were
is,
4 of them, the other one was the floodplain.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is,
DNR.
the letter I got, there's stipulations, everything should flow. I was worried about the parking lot and the sewer, but this DNR doesn't have anything with the sewer, then we're good.
Well, that's going to be between us and the county and you.
Yes, so
Yeah.
DNR's out of it, so
Yeah.
that was,
DNR's floodplain only.
okay.
Correct.
So 4
But
items.
I don't foresee any reason to have a third reading, do you?
Yeah, I'd say we pretty well covered the bases.
Okay, that's my motion then.
Okay. Got a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to classify the zoning change from agricultural to business. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
We need to have a
A
roll
roll-
call. since
that's
it's
right,
amended.
resolution, that's right.
Dan?
Yes.
Beardsley?
Yes.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Miners?
Yes.
Plat?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
Appreciate everybody doing their homework.
Thank you, everybody. Good luck.
Yeah.
Got a couple minutes between our next public hearing at 9:30. Go down to number 5.
Thanks, Al. Thanks, Dan.
Is he here?
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks,
Al.
man.
No, he won't be here till after 10.
Okay. Let's see, police manager, that one. Guess we could go down to number 7 and discuss that one. The Iowa Drainage District Association letter that we had received here a few weeks ago. Had a little bit of discussion with Scott Jacobson last Thursday in regards to that. And this is in order with the Des Moines Waterworks lawsuit. In my discussion with Scott last Thursday, this case is going to be tried as a federal case in Sioux City. And his comments were as far as the letter that was sent out by the Iowa Drainage Association, they would like that funding sooner than later. And if the full, and the pledge is for $5,000 over 3 years. If it is not used, it will be brought back to the county. And if there is any portion that is not used, it will be given back to the county. And at this point, we don't know where this is headed. I mean, this thing could drag out for years. And the sad part of this whole case is whoever wins this suit, nobody's gonna win. Because it will be appealed no matter who wins. So I see this thing dragging out over a long period of time. My estimation is probably 5 to 10 years. The other thing is that I look at, if Des Moines Waterworks wins this case, they will be coming after Carroll County and all the other counties in the state of Iowa. This is just a starting point, and it's not gonna end. So with that being said, I'd like to have a little bit of discussion as far as the $5,000 commitment over the 3-year period and what your thoughts are towards that.
Wasn't part of the discussion is where the actual money goes to, whether it goes to the Iowa Drainage District Association or to the counties themselves. So it's
Basically, it's
Any
going to
comments
the
on
legal, for the legal defense.
for the legal, but it's,
Yeah.
is it,
My understanding, like Zach and I may have a separate fund set up for that.
Right.
Mhm.
because I had some, I had discussion with Neil Aarons and a little bit with Rick Keck, so.
One thought I had is, since there is so much unknown about this, I would like to limit our commitment at this point to 1 year. At this point, I had full intentions of doing it for 3 years, but I would just like to commit for 1 year and see what happens, just because of the uncertainty and everything. I would hate to have things go, things happen that we're not liking or want to be involved with, but be committed for 3 years. I'm not exactly sure what that would be, but
Well, that's a good point, because you're, by giving the $5,000, you are supporting the situation. I mean, we're in full support of it, but it would be in support of, things can change.
And
I think it's a good point.
absolutely, if we're in the same situation a year from now as we are now, I'd go along with the next
Yep.
5. But that was just a thought that I had when I read all this over.
Virginia, your comment?
Do you anticipate that if Des Moines wins and they add Carroll County, does this 15,000 cover that, or does that make it another new lawsuit that we will be involved in? What do you think would happen?
I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna be appealed, and then other counties will be brought into it,
Okay. but
Under
if
the
we're
same
brought
lawsuit?
into
under
it,
the same lawsuit.
Is that gonna be the same lawsuit?
That I can't tell you at this point.
For that reason, I think I would agree with 1 year and then see what happens.
Well, I think what's gonna happen, if they would win this lawsuit, it's gonna come down as a requirement of the federal law or state law that we will have to be permitted. I don't know that there'll be another lawsuit come out on it. I doubt, but you never know, but I think this thing is gonna be here, and I don't think things are gonna change. I see what you're saying, Neil, but I think this needs to be something where they need a commitment from us. I lean to a 3-year commitment, because this thing's gonna affect us one way or another. And it's not gonna just affect the county drains, it's gonna affect the whole county, because they'll eventually go down through every tile line in this goddamn state, and it'll be, as I made the comment, this is gonna be like a prairie wildfire when it hits. It'll go across the nation, and it's gonna cost everybody. It'll not only ag, but residentials and anybody that's got, and everybody has water drain off their surface.
So what you're saying is that if the one waterworks is successful, then
They will be required permits from everybody.
requiring permits from every point source.
And what they'll do is, once they get this suit done, there'll be something passed, probably federal law or administrative rule that requires permitting on everything.
We're all trying to predict what'll happen. If A happens,
Yeah.
action, reaction type of thing, and the complexity of it, nobody can do that with total accuracy. If I had to vote today whether to go with 15,000 or nothing at all, I would go with 15, but just due to the complexity, I think once we put our name on the line and make a commitment, it's an irreversible decision. My attitude at this time is, I think I'll go along with 3 years, but I just want to do it 1 year at a time, just so we're still in control, to some extent, of our taxpayers' money.
I'm probably going to be the lone wolf on this. I think there's far too many questions to make a commitment today. Much of my hesitance stems from an underlying and deep concern about the legal system and feeding the legal system. Attorneys are paid, they butter their bread to argue and to litigate. And to fund litigation feeds the legal system, feeds attorneys. I have nothing against attorneys, they're necessary. But I see this as, if there becomes a pool, and then there's money to fund action, then there's going to be action. And I know about the perception about whether or not Carroll County will be named to this at a later point in time too, I also fear that by joining it, it makes us a target. We're no longer neutral. And it almost names us into further action. I'd rather be the last in. I've said it all along from day one, and my feelings haven't changed. I'd rather be the last one in rather than the first one in. Do we know of any other counties being in?
Green County's gone in.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a survey on ISAC's website for you that has responses from several counties on what they're doing. A lot of them are no's, but a lot of those don't have.
Drains.
I always advocate for proactivism, but I think on this one, I would tend to be far more cautious than proactive. I think we need to wait and see how this thing's going to play out. And I really like the idea it's going to be tried in district court in Sioux City. That really bodes well for us, for this area. So it's not going to be tried in Des Moines. And I think that's going to behoove us. But I, for one, just would not be the first one in.
You know, Mark,
on
here a
this
couple
thing.
of years ago, there was the same type of situation up in Calhoun County in regard to a railroad.
Yep, I remember.
Culvert, and we supported that.
I remember.
And that was another one that would affect every county in the state. You know, Mark, we could be in the opposite side of this. We could have been one of the 3 counties.
Could have been, but
Well,
Gene,
there could
I
have
think
been
we know why we weren't.
Oh, I know.
We just had discussion about it today. We're protecting our system. I mean, I had the county coroner on this 3 weeks ago, and I had a ton of calls on this thing. And I had a lot of support with the way that I view it. And I had one call that said, well, we're going to be named eventually, so we might as well get on board. I had 1 out of 17 calls. And
The conversations I've had with everybody, they expect us to be involved in this thing, because it's going to affect us sooner or later. I support doing a 3-year thing.
how would we fund it?
Personally, I would say we take it out of the general fund, because this is going to affect not just drainage districts, it's going to affect everyone. That's the way I feel about it. Agriculture is our main commodity in the county, and that's the way I feel about it.
But the root of the lawsuit is,
I know.
it's drains.
But
They
do you-
want
but do you
to
think-
permit the drains.
Do you
That's
think
what the lawsuit is.
When it comes to nitrates, do you think golf courses are any less liable?
They haven't been named.
No, but
Is it-
there's more used on a golf course than there is on an ag.
You know, you look at it from the city perspective, we've got Drain 77 right in Carroll here. They will be a part of it. When it comes
It
down
would
to
be,
it.
you know, but
Hey.
Part of,
Excuse me, I'd like to just table this for now.
I thought it'd
We've
be a
got-
long conversation.
This will drag out. We'll table it at this point. We'll come back to it. We've got the 9:30 public hearing for the Stangle site in section 17 of Washington. We'll go ahead and go with that. We'll open the public hearing for that.
I have,
Okay. We did the site review for a couple weeks ago, and there were no issues as far as the master matrix. The applicants are here are Aaron, Andrew, and Larry Stangle, and Aaron is here today. So, and do you know if Dave was coming?
No.
Okay. So with that, do we have any written comments or comments on it?
I had an email that just was asking for clarification if it was a new site.
Okay.
So, no real comments.
So, I guess, is there any comments from anybody here or anybody in attendance? If there are none, I'd go ahead and we can close the public hearing. And with that, be a resolution to, or no,
Just a
there's
motion.
just a motion to approve the permit application for the Stangle site. Need a motion?
Approve the master matrix. you
The
mean.
master matrix, yeah.
Yeah, I will make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the master matrix for the Stangle site. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. should take care of it. Thanks for your time, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
No problem.
So we will go ahead and forward this to DNR, and then that way you guys can keep the ball rolling. Okay, with that, we'll go down to the third item, is secondary roads. Dave?
Morning, everyone.
Hi.
Well, good morning, Dave.
Was wondering, I got a copy of the RISE agreements.
We'll sign that.
If we could add those to the agenda. It's Iowa Department of Transportation agreement for Revitalize Iowa Sound Economy Program, RISE.
I will make a motion we add that RISE agreement.
Okay.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to add the RISE agreement to the secondary roads. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hey, Dave.
Got a utility permit from Mid-American. This is out right across from the landfill. I believe they've done the work. They were in a hurry to do that and authorized them to do so. Without the permit, didn't seem to be much effect really. It's all overhead. There's 2 permits there and a letter.
I think we make a motion we deny it.
Did that tear it out?
It's gonna be embarrassing.
What's going up there?
I'm not sure what's going on.
Do you know what's going in?
No, I
There's a
don't.
building going up there.
No, it's kind of a
Lean-to?
lean-to sort of building.
I'm not sure what's going there.
No,
Where is it? This is at work?
Right across from,
Landfill.
by the transformer across from the
Concrete
landfill.
pad and steel frame is there.
Mhm.
It's pretty critical that they get it done.
Let Mark and them see it, and I'll sign it after they get done looking at it. It'd be Maple River section, what would that be?
I'll guess 15.
That's it. I'll need it back.
See the sections, yeah.
Be in 21, 22, wouldn't it?
See if he said it.
No, it'd be 22 or 23. Be between 22 and 23.
Well, if it's on the road, it could definitely be into. That'll work.
Okay, with that, we need a motion to approve the utility permit for Mid-American.
So moved.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second to approve the utility permit. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next thing I have is employee classification from operator 1 to operator 2. 2 employees, they've completed their probationary period as of May 16th. And a 6-month period, so they'd be promoted to operator 2 at the end of that. It's okay with you guys.
As recommended by the engineer, I'll approve the reclassification of those 2 employees from operator 1 to operator 2.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, with that, we'll go to the Rise agreement. Need to sign that.
Find it here, Marty. There's 2 copies of it. There's a place for Courtney to sign, and the chairman to sign, and the date on that. It's a pretty lengthy agreement. It's a portion of exhibits as far as what they showed at the commission meeting, kind of summarizing what the project was, the project costs, the targeted small business contract provision. Both the contractor and contracting authority need to make effort to contact targeted small business associations, and then they need to note it as far as a part of their proposal, and the specifications for that. The agreement is fairly lengthy. I didn't count the pages, 5 or 6 pages, but really nothing out of the ordinary, and I think we're on track where they approved our plans, I think maybe Thursday, Friday. We contacted 3 bidders. It appears that we might have three asphalt contractors, Des Moines Asphalt, which is Cessford, Henningsen, and Norris in the county. Hopefully at the same time, they all seem to be pretty satisfied. Plus we advertised it in the paper and the AGC and the DOT, so hopefully we should get some responsive bidders for it. And we're good to go for the letting June 1st at 10 o'clock.
I will make a motion to authorize the chairman and auditor to sign the documents. I will say this is probably the fastest RISE project I've seen move.
Wow.
For the companies that wasn't there, after we left our meeting the other day in the hall, the plans were given a preliminary approval, which would have normally taken a while.
Yeah.
Just have to run across the guy and get it done right in the hall, so it's
They
moved
wanted
very fast.
30 days to do that, and they did it in the hall, and
You know, it's
Worked
gonna.
out-
By the
worked out
water
well.
cooler?
Yeah.
on the water cooler on the way out. And just the grace of God was upon us for that.
Good.
I mean, you don't even get these documents that fast normally.
No, I came right
It's
away,
it's just,
and we sent the final plans, the final end of it, as we were required to do, and they passed them where they were concerned that we might need a permit from the DOT to work within their right-of-way, but those people responded, we're far enough outside of the right-of-way where we're hooking on, and so that worked
Good.
good too. It appears it's coming together, and I need these plans signed and a notice to bidders too, which is, I think, a formality from last week.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor to approve. Need a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, you have a second to approve the signing of the Revitalize Iowa Sound Economy Progress for the Ralston project. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You know, it's kind of interesting, talking with one of the commissioners afterwards, he's very receptive to this project and said if we have more projects to come forward with them, so that's a sign of.
We want another one next year.
Yep.
That was a fun day.
Yeah, everything went our way.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was boom, boom.
Yeah. I think one of the,
No,
You gotta
All of us
we need to
sign.
Oh,
sign
all
it.
of us
We all
sign.
need to sign it.
oh, okay, I see.
Marty's just
Yeah.
tied up right now, so I thought we'd get you and Mark involved for him.
Yeah, it went so easy that we wondered whether or not we should have asked for more money.
Let's see. Yes, it is. And
So Dean, you saying I should have come up with my original saying?
Yeah.
for somebody's driveway and do the east and northwest intersection. Either that or we're gonna stock it with the tilapia.
After this weekend, you probably could.
Boy.
Al said we had a hard enough rain
With
on
packed
Saturday
roads.
that packed roads down, and we had, was that was Sunday?
Saturday night.
Saturday night, yeah.
And I think we had about 8 guys out blading, thankfully, working on the roads because they got kind of loused up after that drizzly rain.
That drizzly rain made a mess.
Yeah, sure did. But
They were going 7 o'clock Saturday morning.
they were, yeah. So that worked out really good too. I was just really tickled that we did that volunteer to go out to help blade roads because they really needed it. So
Dave, I had a question about Roselle. Nate Stangle stopped by and want to know, is there going to be seating? Is that part of the contract?
I believe it is, Mark, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He said, he goes, he'd heard that Willie was, but he didn't know about ours.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm pretty sure it's part of both contracts.
Okay.
I know Willie is.
okay,
I had,
Hopefully we'll be consistent on that.
okay.
I had a question in front of the 4Rs Tavern. Is there gonna be an approach or anything put in there? Is that in part of the plans or not? Or,
Quite a bit of that's gonna get redone in front
Okay.
of the tavern, yeah.
okay. I had somebody ask me about that on Friday.
Yeah, that should be pretty nice.
Okay.
Almost like new sidewalk and whatnot.
Okay, so that is part of the project then?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let them know that.
Well, but what's existing won't be changed, right?
Right, not,
No, what's in front of it right now?
no, but there'll be a lot.
Between the street and
Yeah.
the,
Mhm, yeah.
and
That'll
the
all be
original.
filled in.
I mean, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Thing, we're gonna tear that up.
Yeah. They'd want to do that at the time.
Okay.
Probably hire the contractor, just like we've got people that are changing their driveways, going back further than what we thought necessary for the project, and they're gonna hire the contractor to do that. I think they're gonna do one of those today.
Okay.
But they'll be paying a portion of that.
How did they do something like that? Did they pay the county or did they pay the
They
contractor?
would pay the contractor directly, and
Separate
negotiate
billing.
with the contractor on the price.
Okay.
We'd stay as far away from it as we
Yeah.
could.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, let's go back to the Iowa Drainage Association letter, continue that discussion.
Well, it sounds like there's obviously enough votes to support it. As my comments would change anybody's mind, but I guess we got to move to, how we're going to fund it. And one would assume that by this action, we would already be amending the fiscal year 16 budget that's not even into effect.
There's some in legal for that? Do we have a legal item that we have enough in that we can do that?
I have to look, I'm not sure.
I share some of your concerns, Mark. One of them was feeding the system, and that's one of the reasons that I prefer a 1 year as opposed to 3-year thing. And also your comments that we're not involved and the reasons why. And another reason why they're involved and we are not is they had access to water in the right of way so that they could take samples without trespassing, and they may not have had that option or situation here in Carroll County. So it was, they've got the best case against those counties this time, and part of it is because they were able to get the access to the water there without trespassing in order to do it. But as far as your other thing, your other comment is that there's so darn many questions involved. You're absolutely right about that. And I think to the day they go in the courtroom, there's still going to be an awful lot of questions involved. And that's why they're going to court, is to get these questions answered. And so I'm still in agreement that we should go on at least for 1 year, because we're next in line. we really are. And if we try to cut corners at this point, we may have larger costs to look forward to in the future.
If you were going to do it for 1 year, what would be the trigger mechanism, or what would be the action that would help you decide whether we continue it or discontinue it?
I think it's just a lot of the unknowns that are in place, and if we feel like we're just feeding the system, I think the big thing is we used to have the option open a year from now whether to continue or not to continue. If we sign this agreement, we're committed for 3 years. We don't need to do that. That's probably the basis of it, Mark.
So just a few scenarios. If it hasn't gotten any further in a year, where we still have unanswered questions.
We will.
It hasn't gone to court yet. There's been a lot of discussion. There's been perhaps some litigation or maneuvering or intervention, I think is the correct term. But that's all that's happened. Would you say that that's enough to continue funding it or to discontinue funding it?
I would say the status quo would justify continuing, pretty much. I'm more afraid something's going to happen that we didn't anticipate and didn't want to get involved in.
So then would the only option or outcome to not continue funding it would be it's thrown out of court?
Okay. Well, no. Mark, you're asking me to, there's so many questions, you're asking me to make a commitment with a lot of questions that none of us can answer right now by painting various scenarios, and there'd be, every scenario you mentioned would have so many different things involved. It's probably would not be smart for me to answer that question. But the reason, and that's one of the reasons I think we should go 1 year at a time, so that we can reassess the situation a year from now. I think that's the main premise of it. And as I said earlier, if I had to vote for 3 years or nothing right now, I would vote for 3 years. I would. Just because it's, I wouldn't say it's a cheap insurance policy, but it is a little bit like insurance. We're paying to protect ourselves. It's a protection policy, but just completely different insurance. We're paying to protect ourselves. We really are. And I think it's hopefully it'll be a good investment to protect our county from this litigation.
And I guess the reason I'm looking at 3 years, I think they need a commitment to know where they're at as far as, support. I mean, if they go in there only half-cocked, then they're gonna go in there half-cocked, and that may not be the best legal defense. That's the way I feel about it.
As far as going 1 or 3 years, I thought, well, I don't want to be feeding the system. That term had been brought up here before. And then on the other side, I don't want the attorneys to think that we are not very committed and aren't going to. But I think by going 1 year, they're going to earn their money or show us that they did in order for us to continue with it.
I wouldn't want to be the only county not to participate out of 99 counties. I mean, I'll certainly give you that much.
Do you want me to print that out real quick?
I wouldn't mind seeing it.
What would it take you to participate? Just what other people do?
But I guess what I'm saying is it's unlikely everybody will participate. There's some counties that don't even have drains.
And that's what I think she alluded to. There are no's. They don't have any drain. They don't have any skin in the game.
Which again makes it a drain issue.
Well, but it's gonna be, if this goes through, they're not just gonna go after drainage districts. There's drains out there that are not in drainage districts.
Gene, we're not talking waters of the U.S. here.
No, but if you think they're gonna just stop with drainage districts, they're not.
I think that's who they're targeting.
Look at all the drainage districts we
They
have.
can't prove it. How are they gonna prove it?
It's science. I mean, and
We have more drainage
that's
districts than
conjecture,
Buena
Marty.
Vista.
I mean,
I've been
that's
involved.
kind of my point.
I've been involved in drainage sheets, Mark, and this thing is far more than you understand. I'll guarantee you.
Don't shortchange me.
Cal, there's two
I've done a
things.
lot of research on this.
I've been involved in them.
Okay.
I just look at all the drainage districts we have, and Calhoun County is involved, and they've only got I think, 405 acres in the drainage district so they're involved in 405 acres. We have these drainage districts. And then I look at the map, and we are contiguous to two of the counties that are in this. So I think if anybody's got to play the game, as reluctant as I am to spend the money, I think it's Carroll County. I can see where some other county in the other part of the state that has no drainage district might say, hey, this is not, we don't have a dog in this fight. We do. We have.
And
they-
not a dog in this fight now, but they will eventually.
Yeah, I agree with Gene on that. I think that, you know, they may say, it's easy to say no on a deal like this for them. Because, you know, they interpret it as a drainage situation.
Mhm.
Even if they have no drains, point sources are in their counties. And they're gonna have to comply.
Every tile line in the United States is the same thing as a drainage district.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of who pays for them.
Yeah,
If it's
private
private or if it's in a
public.
drainage district that's funded by a group of people. One
The,
of the same.
the point source argument is going to drag in old days of Darwinism.
It's gonna
I mean,
drag, it's
it
gonna drag.
does.
Yeah, that's
The
a
point
big
source is right there, gentlemen.
That's a pretty broad, that's a pretty broad term.
Damn right it
It'll,
is.
it'll eventually drag in city gutters and storm sewers.
They're point sources.
Yeah.
There's a lot of farmers, like Gene says, that have tile on their farms that are not in drainage districts. I'm on both sides. I've got some that are and some that aren't.
Yep.
And the only reason they're not filing lawsuits against private people is because it wasn't a big enough target for them. They wanted to have
Public.
drainage
They want a
districts and
nice little
counties.
target.
It would be, if they named 10, they'd have to name 10,000 people in their lawsuit. And they don't want to do that. They're going after the big thing. There's some blood in this. It's not a turnip. They say you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. Well, that's, yep.
Are you looking for a motion?
There's
It's up to you.
there's 6 counties that have taken action. And if I'm reading this right, 2 counties have agreed to participate. The other 4 have either tabled it or chosen not to participate at this time, if I'm reading this right.
So you have 6 responses out of 99 counties.
Mhm.
There's
I don't-
more
I don't think
responses
that's
than
a-
that. There's some that are just,
Responses?
yeah,
I don't think all 99 counties are there.
Oh, I see.
yeah.
But
Because I haven't
of
responded.
those, there's only been 6 that have taken any action on it, and 2 that have agreed to
Well, a lot of
participate.
them are just first getting this.
And right now, we're probably on the list as not having taken action too. We should be. Sure.
Yeah.
We're not even on.
We didn't
because I haven't
respond.
responded
No,
because.
you're not, sure.
Virginia, you have a comment?
If you decide to proceed, would it be better to take this out of local option than the general
geez.
fund? Since you're gonna have to amend the budget? You already have the general fund more or less set. The local option is more left open yet, isn't it?
So your suggestion is that when people go buy a new pair of shoes in town, they're gonna fund a lawsuit against drains?
I'm saying that money comes in from rural services. It's for the rural people, and you're talking about drainage paying for it.
It comes in from urban too, not just rural. It comes in
That's
from
right,
everybody.
That's our share. They have their share for the cities.
It's the county's share, yes.
That's the county share.
Right.
And you're saying that we should do it
Well, it sounds good, a lot of these different.
by the
things.
districts.
No,
Well, that's-
I'm saying not to do it at all yet.
Well, I agree there too, but that you say that.
I'm saying
But
wait and
Your
see.
basic is pretty well set, and you're gonna have to amend it, and you're taking out a chunk. And you've got local option that is undesignated to a point.
When is the lawsuit scheduled to begin?
I'm not sure when
Oh,
it's.
they have,
Nothing.
They haven't got anything
I don't think they've got
started
anything
yet.
set yet.
It could still be thrown out of court.
Sure.
Marty, you got any comments on it?
I guess the way I look at it is we're trying to protect our interest. Whether we like it or not, we're gonna be pulled into it sooner or later down the road. And in talking with Scott the other day, I think it's just something we have to be proactive about to protect their interest. And that's my biggest hope coming out of this.
I would go 1 year. I like the 1 year idea.
I just think we need a stronger commitment from us. Shoes could be on the other side. How would you feel if you had 1 year? I mean, this is gonna be a big thing. They need to know where they're at, I think. I will make a motion that we go and approve the 3-year thing, as requested on the letter.
And how would it be funded?
Funded? I would say take it out of general sources. Out of general.
And we would amend the fiscal
We'd have
year
to-
16 budget, and it's not even July
Well,
1st.
and there's maybe some,
I'll have to look.
we've got a legal line,
Because there is
and we could
there
probably
is
use
a
some
line
of
in
that.
there for that, but I'll have to look and see what line it's in and what that's supposed to be for. And they are wanting a resolution, so I don't know if this is something we should put on the agenda next week, since it's a resolution, or, because depending on how we go with this is worded 3 years, and
Wouldn't that be covered under this, what we got on here, on agenda?
Under the Iowa Drainage Association.
I would think we could do that today.
yeah, unless, yeah, I guess, that's your call.
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution then.
Okay, got a motion on the floor to approve it for the 3 years. $5,000 per year. Need a second? I guess I'd be willing to second if nobody else does.
I'm going to vote against it only because I intend to resurrect it as a 1 year situation.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Resolution.
Oh, resolution.
Danzer?
Yes.
Beardmore?
Nay.
Shepherd?
Nay.
Miners?
Yes.
No. Nay.
Motion fails.
We want to put it back on the agenda for next Monday? More discussion?
If it's not out of order, I would make a motion to approve the resolution, amend it by replacing the words 3 years with 1 year.
Okay.
I also move that we approve a similar resolution, and the amendment to the resolution would be replacing the words 3 years with 1 year. That's the motion.
I would second that motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve it for 1 year at the rate of $5,000 for the 1 year.
That's the motion.
Yes,
For
sir.
$5,000.
Motion and a second, so it's a resolution?
Danzer?
Yes.
Nay.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Miners?
No.
Bach?
Yes.
Motion carries. And I'll redo that, that's
Well, if my motion had failed first, I would have voted for yours, okay?
But then let you go first.
I'll redo this and have you sign it.
I understand, I
I
understand.
think the same way too.
As a neighbor, we should be more.
Yeah, same thing. But
Well, we're involved,
we're supporting,
and it probably will be 3 years in reality.
yeah. Yep.
Next time around, it'll probably be more than $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be the thing
That's
too.
the sad part.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that we're down to 1 year, they might save 10,000.
Mhm.
Well, we're in the driver's seat with our money, and I don't know if we discussed where the source of the money would come from on this second motion. I would prefer that it come out of general basic, just for financial reasons. We're required to levy 3.5 in general basic, and we always seem to have a little surplus there, and the local option is still there in a very versatile way. Although there would be nothing illegal or wrong with using local option, because it's for any legal purpose. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just
Wow.
think if we have the option, I prefer the general basic.
And I agree with you. I do not think we should isolate just the drainage district, because I think it's going to be an issue that's going to affect everybody.
Okay, we're running a little bit behind. We'll open the public hearing for the fiscal year 15 budget amendment. It's 10:11.
Seems like it's been a while since we talked about this, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there has not been any changes in the previous meetings. I'll just kind of go over these real quick. Everybody should have the record of hearing and determination on the amendment. It's the new form that actually shows where the signatures are going. I'll just go through here real quick. We're going to amend revenue, $516 on, under charges for service. It's the money that the ambulance received as in the form of an ICAP insurance reimbursement. And then under miscellaneous revenue, $80. That's the money that Veterans Affairs received in the form of a donation. That $80 is shown in expenses down below, but it'll be used for veterans. A lot of times he'll do fuel cards or things like that, because the donation was to be used for veterans. So not much on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, under public safety and legal services, we have $40,715. My line here. And we have 29,000 of that is jail and medical services. 1,600 is the comm center for part-time salaries. 7,500 is legal and court and sheriff transports. We have 1,197 for ambulance bumper repair, and 3,418 for ambulance building repairs, and that's due to the water issues.
I had 27,000 for the first line jail and medical services.
Well,
and
I have it penciled in.
And I
Does
believe
anybody have
that
a
adds up
calculator
to
on
40,000 or 4715. I think if we go with 29, it doesn't add up. Check the math on that.
Does anybody have a calculator?
I do.
Real quick.
I'll re-add that.
Yeah.
So I think that should be 27. 27, 1,600, 7,500, 1,197, 3,418, 47. Yeah, it should be 27,000 to add up correctly.
Yeah, so correction on the jail medical services, 27,000 is the correct amount on that.
The total's the same on their sheet, though.
The total is the same on the
Yep.
sheet, I just didn't get my notes updated. Okay, moving down to Service Area 3, Public Health and Social Services, there's that $80 that the Veterans Affairs will be spending. Moving down under County Environment and Education, $4,000 for conservation bobcat repair. And the other is that Freedom Rock board-approved contribution of $48.50. And then under administration, $29,000. Data processing, maintenance, warranty, miscellaneous, most of that is all for the IT department. Actually, all of it is. $10,000 capital projects, that's for the Coon Rapids Riverside Park and additional campsites, be coming out of the Conservation's Capital Fund. They're taking it from their reserves. Gives us a total of expenditures of $88,645. There's my list. Is there any questions on any of the expenses? Like I said, they haven't changed since the last time, so.
Any other questions or comments regarding the budget amendment? to approve.
So moved. Oh, wait, you
Got a comment?
As long as I can remember, every year you've amended the budget at least once. Is there any incentive to live within their budgets? And sometimes you've even had people come in and say, well, if we run out of money, you can always amend the budget.
I guess I look at a budget as a guideline, and there's a lot of unknowns that that come up with us that we can't plan for. So this is the way that we adjust for that.
I agree, but so is every private or business budget.
That's why it's budgeting.
You know, I look at down this, and a lot of these are very much unknowns. Several of these are with different things that have happened, like with the ambulance was either an accident or a building, issue of the building due to Mother Nature. Another one was in a jail, which was caused due to a lot of medical expenses. We had no idea that was happening before we come. And that, you take those out, and that's the majority of it.
Virginia, there's only one way to ensure no budget amendment every year, and that's to over budget. That's to pad.
So there really is no incentive.
No, that's quite different.
To answer your question, I believe that there is. I mean, there's always next year. You know, I think you saw, you know, a stand that a couple of us took in the treasurer's office. So, I mean, yeah, there's opportunities there. It's just whether or not we seize them or not.
And so you budget a reserve so that you've got enough to.
Well, we've been spending down our reserves, and I don't think you've had much argument with that.
No, but it's still pretty good.
I would agree.
The department heads can look at it and say, oh, there's plenty of money there.
I'd rather have reserves than be like some counties that don't have it.
Well,
Budgeting to prevent budgets amendments is pretty low on my priority. I'd rather have some reserve, such as local option, and have our department heads budget on the conservative side. Just like in business, you probably budget the same way, but you probably have a little savings account or something because things go wrong that are not predictable. So, no, preventing budget amendments is not a high priority on doing the budget. I'd rather people be conservative than to over budget so that they don't have a budget amendment. And going down this list, the things that we are budgeting for are unforeseens that could not have been budgeted for unless, because you can't predict the health of inmates, you can't predict when the Bobcat's going to break, you can't predict when someone's going to give money to the veterans, you can't predict when you're going to get a reimbursement, can't predict an accident with an ambulance, can't predict water issues on an ambulance building. None of those things could have been built into a budget or should have been built into a budget.
Exactly.
Freedom Rock, another one, not everybody voted for it, but it's something you couldn't see coming.
that happens in every private business. They either have to change their spending,
Absolutely.
or they go out of business, lay off people, they do really drastic things.
Virginia, I hate to turn the tables on you, but we're going to amend our 16 budget already.
I know. That bothers
And you were in
me too.
favor, no, you were in favor of
No,
that.
I didn't want it on the general budget. I wanted it on-
You'd still have to amend it if you took it off the local option sales
I
tax.
don't like that either.
I know, but, okay.
Pretty hard to satisfy
Okay.
everybody. I'll make a motion, we approve the budget.
It's okay sometimes.
Got a motion to approve, need a second?
I'll
Second.
Okay. Got a motion second, resolution?
Well, just to,
Oh, yeah, we got to close the public hearing first, excuse me. Go ahead, it's 10:20.
And I'll use the motion in a second. And it is a resolution.
Yep.
The answer?
Yes.
there's always discussion after a
Okay.
motion and.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Since the fire's still burning, I did just want to say I appreciate Virginia's comments because I do think that that should be one of the first steps when someone wants to amend the budget is say, how can you squeeze it out of your current budget? And for the most part, I think that was done in this this scenario. So, but that attitude is a good attitude to try to keep everybody to do that without making a budget amendment just a given.
Right.
And I think that's the case here. End of discussion for me.
Okay, any other comments?
Maybe.
Not? Roll call?
Dancer?
Yes.
Beardmore?
Yes.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Miners?
Yes.
Plat?
Yes.
Motion carries. His signature on that. Oops, that's one. That's just.
Okay, with that, we'll go down to the next item. Number 5 is Matthew Ring with Nationwide Plan Enhancements. Go ahead and pull up the chair there, Matthew.
Morning.
Welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Busy day for everybody here.
Yes.
Survived the wild weather last week. I was watching in Ankeny, seemed like it's getting a little crazy up here. Maybe a little bit further north, Lake City.
Yeah.
It reminds me when I moved out from Ohio a couple of years ago, the first time I ever came to Carroll County. I was driving back to Ankeny, just out of nowhere, this storm, sideways rain, and I'm thinking, I've never been out in the middle of nowhere like this. Where do I go? There's no ditches, there's no, roadside places to stop, so I can't imagine what it'd be like with all that. Anyhow, I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. Just kind of a follow-up from our last meeting in March. Just to recap some of the notes that I had taken down. What I had brought to the table was really a proposal for an enhancement on the 457B retirement plan that you have with Nationwide that would eliminate any asset variable charges to employee accounts with Nationwide, and also reduce the fixed rate in the present and eliminate the guaranteed minimum interest rate that's on the fixed account for employees. So kind of going through that, total assets in the Nationwide portion of the plan is $1.1 million. Of that, $772,000 are on the variable side, $360,000 approximately in the fixed side of things. Reducing the expenses would provide roughly a savings every year of about $2,500, comparing the variable savings to that initial loss of about 1% in the interest on the guaranteed side of things. Going out 10 years, be a $25,000 savings to the plan, 20 years, $51,000, and 30 years is $77,000 savings to the plan. On average, assuming, again, just based on those numbers, not calculating for growth in the plan, assuming increased participation, contributions, market performance, etc., those numbers could be a little bit larger. One thing that we had discussed was giving employees an opportunity to provide feedback, and we provided information, I believe, in payroll. Over the last month, I hadn't heard from anybody.
And I haven't either.
Upon further research, we have about 28 total employees in the plan right now. Of those 28, only 8 people have more than half of their account value in the fixed. So 21 people don't have, or have less than 50% of their accounts in that fixed portion. So really today, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to just kind of provide a motion to either approve or deny that enhancement at this point in time, and kind of hear some of your thoughts.
You said there's about 21% that are in the fixed portion of it, so the enhancement that removes the minimum return on that would only affect those 21%?
It would only affect 8 people at this point totally, because 8 people have 50% or more. And out of those 8, one person had about 2/3 of their account, and the other 7 were all in that fixed. The fixed rate upon the change would drop to 2.5% from 3.5%. And anybody who would be retired or no longer an employee, should they be able to find a better rate somewhere else, they obviously have the option of rolling or transferring the money
but I'm very confident in saying even at 2.5% is still gonna be a good guaranteed rate on that type of investment.
But this enhancement would eliminate that, correct?
It would eliminate that minimum
Right.
protection, right? So
Right.
theoretically, in the future, at any point, the rate could drop to 0, 0.5%, whatever.
Right.
At this point, with interest rate markets, the long term really only seems to be going up at some point. When is anybody's guess? We're thinking the Fed won't raise rates until at least early 2016, and at that point, it's going to be small increases potentially.
Well, Courtney, thanks for your office for making the effort to enlist
Stuff and
feedback.
checks. Like I said, we didn't hear from anybody.
Mhm.
That doesn't make we were looking for a sense of direction from our employees because
Well, they had
our
every
philosophy
opportunity
is,
to respond, and
as you remember, our philosophy, well, it's their money, let them decide how to, or give us a sense of direction, how they want it managed, and we didn't get any directional feedback.
My gut instinct on these types of things, we all get them with our life insurance policies and that type of thing, is to leave it the same. And the reason is, no offense to you or your very bright actuaries that have already done the homework on this thing that are far smarter than I am, is they've already done the math, and that's why they're extending the offer. So my gut would be is just to leave it the same, just based solely off of that. I'll defer to wiser powers here.
My idea was looking for a sense of direction, we didn't get it. So are they satisfied with what they want, or they want new?
Normally, if you put people out there on a survey and they don't respond, they're generally satisfied.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with you on that.
I don't know, I've gotten no sense of direction, just what I was hoping for, and it goes both ways, They give us authority to make the change, or they just said something, and maybe they're just happy with it, with where they are as well.
I'd make a motion to leave it the same.
Got a motion on the floor to leave it the same?
I'll second that.
Okay, you got a second? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Same thing. Motion carried.
All right.
What do you do?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a good day.
thanks
You
for
too.
coming back.
Thanks, Courtney.
Yeah. I guess
Hey.
if you hear any comments from anybody that aren't unhappy, then.
Yeah.
They had their chance.
Yeah, give them every opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, with that, we'll go down. Next item is case managed care and new hire. Angela and Justin.
I don't think he wanted it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good.
Good morning.
I'll go ahead and start and discuss the new hire for case management. We did interviews last week and offered the employment on Friday to an individual. I talked to her this morning. She did accept the position. She will begin this Thursday. Her name is Morgan Stoddard. She actually lives right now in Manila. She just got her master's in social work from the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Morgan's daughter?
Stoddard, correct. Her employment is contingent on background checks, which I just sent them all off today, and contingent on board of supervisor approval.
Morgan has a master's degree and seemed to interview very well. I thought all three individuals interviewed well, but it was a pretty much unanimous consensus to
Offer her.
Mhm. Yep. And she thought the weekend over, he extended it Friday. She thought the weekend, so she had plenty of time to think about it as well, so I feel confident she'll do a good job.
I think she will too. Currently, she's working in the field, providing leisure activities for individuals with disabilities, both children and adults. So she definitely has the experience, and then through both her master's and her bachelor's has done different field experiences in a wide variety of areas, hospice and nursing homes and that type of thing. So she definitely comes with a lot of experience.
Are you seeking that approval this morning, or will you be coming back for that?
Would it be possible to get approval today?
We don't need to amend the
It's on there.
agenda.
It's on the agenda.
Right, I saw it on there, I just didn't know if it
Agenda.
was, but it didn't say anything about approval, which is why I was asking the question. I'd make a motion to approve the hiring of Morgan Stoddard as a new case manager.
Okay, got a motion, and a second?
I'll second that motion. I was at the interview process as well, and she interviewed very well. And I have a lot of, I think she has a lot of potential.
Okay. Got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks for being part of the interview.
Yeah, welcome.
So do you guys.
Next part we want to go over is just some changes to Medicaid. In February, we were made aware of some changes to Medicaid. Right now, the state kind of just manages most of the things under Medicaid. They're going to actually change that to having between 2 and 4 managed care companies manage Medicaid and all those services. So each, they call them MCOs, each MCO that will be selected will have to provide everything that Medicare has across the state. So there could be 2 to 4 different agencies that provide the same exact thing across the state. So that's going to have, impact on a lot of different Medicaid agencies that we deal with. The providers, for example, instead of contracting with IME like they do now, they will then have to contract with the managed care organizations. And that's also something a little bit different between providers is case management. They're not sure what is going to happen to case management as we see it right now. They're kind of going to transition it to like community case management system. We're just not sure who's going to provide that, whether they are going to contract with the current agencies, whether they will want to have more regionalized case management, or whether the managed care companies will actually hire their own case managers. In the packet information here, I just included kind of the important dates of the changes. So you can see they're trying to get all of this done in less than a year. So in February, they really kind of started the public process and opened it up to bidders. You can see on that second page here, the companies that sent in letter of intents to bid on becoming one of the managed care companies. So everything, all the RFPs and everything were due back. The bidder proposals were due back May 8th, so they just got those done. The next process will then be for the state to select which care organizations that they'll have. They'll hopefully have that done by the end of July, and then have those contracts signed in August so that the new managed care companies can take over January 1st.
It's my understanding that the state extended the bid period from May 8th to May 19th.
Did they?
And I got that from one of these, the information things. And they said that the state had extended the due date to May 19th, and it was originally May 8th.
Yes,
So
so they didn't, because I just got this on Friday, so they must not have updated their page
yeah.
that they're doing on that. Okay.
So, since they've extended it to tomorrow, we don't know how many people are even applying.
Well,
for
yeah,
that.
up to this point, we know that there's 18 of them.
18 that are
Yeah.
interested, okay.
Yep, so they have to whittle that down to between 2 and 4 is what they're gonna have. So, yeah, there's a really big, if you have time to search for the managed care for Iowa, there's a lot of questions and answers on there from the different bidders, as well as there have been information sessions in a few places in the state too where people have a chance to ask some questions. I just included a few on the the second sheet there, some of the questions and answers that I think is kind of will affect us more than some of the other providers out there or Medicaid providers. The first couple just talks about, a few people have asked about case management and where it's going to go. And basically their answer is the MCOs will have that decision of whether they want to contract with providers to do this or if they want to hire their own. And that transition, if anything is going to happen, it'll be next year. We have 6 months to continue providing services as they are now. And then by the end of next year, all case management services will have to be transitioned to whatever new system that the MCOs have decided upon. And that could be different for each MCO. One MCO may decide they want to hire their own case managers. One MCO may decide they want to contract with existing case managers. So there really is no way to determine what's going to happen until those MCOs have been chosen. But it really brings up a lot of questions because our concern is right now you providers just contract with Medicaid. There's just the state, you just contract with Medicaid. Now in this new system, there's going to be possibly 4 different agencies that providers have to contract with. And that not only affects us, but it affects the providers in Carroll. It affects doctors. If you just think of anybody who takes Medicaid insurance, it's going to affect those providers. And one of the questions here that I'll read, because it's kind of important coming from a client perspective. There's one question that was asked coming from a parent perspective, and the parent was like, okay, I have, I work with 3 providers, wherever they're at, providers like New Hope, Family Resource Center, this wasn't our area, but just for example, those kind of providers. And they were also working with a doctor, some specialized doctors, things of that nature. And they said, what's going to happen then? What happens if, MCO number 1 has these selection of providers I work with, and MCO number 2 has these selection of providers I work with? The clients have to pick only one. They can have only one MCO. And so it was basically then up to the parent then, or the guardian, whoever, they would have to decide basically which one would be better for them. So there is a possibility that, clients could lose services from particular agencies if they're in a different MCO than the one they're enrolled in. So that's going to be another important thing too for our clients or anybody who receives Medicaid, is to be aware of where the people they work with, which MCO that they're enrolled in. So it's kind of unfortunate.
It was important for the state to offer choice through the managed care, so that's why they went through requiring at least two to 4 bidder, companies that they were going to contract with. But from there, it doesn't really allow a lot of choice, client choice or consumer choice, because they just basically then are restricted to the providers that particular managed care has contracted with. So their choice is which managed care they want, but then beyond there, they're a little bit restricted.
So say, as an example, here in Carroll County, you might have, we might have, I'm just going to pick 2 different MCOs that serve this area, okay? And under your caseload, all 125 cases, that we currently manage, must make a selection of one of those 2 MCOs.
Correct.
One of those MCOs might use its own case managers, whereas the other one might say, oh no, we'll go out and contract with whoever you may like.
Right.
If that's the case, I see Carroll County Case Management, their role in client education at this point moving forward. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that once it becomes later in this year, once we get closer to January 1st, we plan on, we're going to have to talk to the clients and guardians and just say, here's where we're at. Because it's a big change for them, and it's, you know, it's important that they know what that decision means. Now, they would have the ability to change between MCOs. I don't know what that process is going to be because they haven't developed it yet. But yeah, it's going to be very important for them if we have the opportunity to work with one of the MCOs as a case management agency, for them to know that that's how they would continue to work with us, or just educating them on, you know, maybe working with another MCO with different case managers would be a better choice for them, so that they continue working with some of their other providers. It's just
So they may have to make a choice. If I'm following you right, let's say you have an individual, he's in the house here, he's getting Medicaid supporting him through that. But then he goes to a specialist doctor, that might be a different MCO.
He
So
won't be
if
able to.
So he won't be able to do that. So you have to make a choice which one he's going to do.
possibly, yes. Now,
He may lose
hopefully,
services, even maybe not get as good a service.
possibly.
Possibly.
It just depends on it, you know, how difficult or whatever it is for the doctors to contract with all the MCOs. So hopefully, most of the doctors will be able to contract with all of them. But at this point, it's undetermined on how that's going to occur, because the MCOs will do that differently, or could do that differently.
That's the bad part of it. You're losing consistency there as you get more MCOs involved.
Right.
It's going to be tough.
Well, and I'm certain this is always the case anytime you got a new case manager, and how to start creating those bonds with that client from day one. But man, it's never been more important than now.
Correct.
Right.
For you two, you still have your relationships with your, you know, slightly, you know, reduced caseload, but for those two new ones, they really need to build that bond immediately.
Well, and where more difficulty comes into play is, I think most families or consumers, especially if they're receiving 24-hour services in a group home, and they like where they're at and they're receiving optimal services, their priority is going to be to choose the managed care that that local provider is contracted with. And then that will then dictate the rest of their services.
Yeah, that's true.
And the thing with that is the providers, like the providers in our area, like New Hope, Family Resource Center, Home Care Options, they're not going to have any transition period for another extra year. So those providers don't have to change for an extra year past what case management is. So they would get to stay with them longer than what they would for case management if things would change.
I'm not sure what we can do at this time. I think you're doing the right thing, step one, in informing us that the future is going to change here. I think you're in a good situation. I think whoever gets these contracts is going to want to find people in your situation. I question who they come to, say if they want you to continue doing case management. They come to you directly, or they come to the county and say, we want to contract with your case management?
The funny thing, up to this point, we've gotten letters, and we've gotten calls from some of the MCOs, you know, wanting us to sign like a letter of intent with them, but, I mean, we haven't done anything like that. And when you ask them on the phone, okay, so we hear case management is a little bit different than these others, what do you plan on doing with case management? Of course, they can't answer any of your questions. So, I don't know how they would, because now they've been contacting us, the agency, because they just get a list of all Medicaid providers. So I would think that maybe they would send out a letter or something, or call those that are already signed up for case management.
Well, I would think whoever gets these contracts is going to really want to have some people on board already that are doing this type of work, as opposed to starting from scratch. They're going to have enough of that to do in a lot of other areas. But we'll see how it works.
The time will tell. We think it makes sense to, you know, try to include agencies that are out there just to help the transition, not only for the MCO themselves, but for the clients. Because the clients could be potentially experiencing a lot of change in the next year.
Could you also see them saying, we would like to contract with you for case management, but in addition to case management, in order to streamline our operations, we'd also like you to do something else?
Well, it could be a change where, you know, right now we do case management for certain populations. It could be where they would want us to increase what populations we work with.
Sure.
For the area that we're in. So not only we work with, ID waiver and BI waiver, but maybe we move to the health and disability waiver and the physical disability waiver and expand. I mean, that would seem logical that could be a possibility.
Sure. Well, I encourage you to keep us up to date as these changes evolve, and which they're going to change. We need to be kept up to date.
See you at 1.
Thanks, Angela.
Save me a chair.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, we'll go down to the plats, number 9.
Looks familiar.
Now, are we doing 2 plats today?
Well, I got the second one later on.
We
so-
have one in our packet, and Carl sent us a second one for the one by Brita.
Yeah,
Are we
and I
going to do
have
both
a
of those
copy of
today?
that second one, if you'd like to see a paper copy. I
so-
was gonna leave that up to you, but here's the one that came late,
Okay.
so we could add that one.
The second one is that little triangle, in section 1 of Wheatland Township. I think it's Wheatland, right north of Brita, where they're going
Yeah.
to put those tanks. It's less than 5 acres. I did talk to Carl this morning.
2.68 acres.
Huh?
2.68 acres.
2.68 acres. Yeah, it's triangle. Both of ours today involve triangles, I guess, but that one is. And I said, are you sure it's okay? Because this is not like a building site or anything. They're just cutting off the triangle off the field. But we've done the rezoning on this already, so it fits very well, he said. The other one, of course, we have been over and over. We had it in screen earlier.
And the only reason I brought this up is because there's some time, they're trying to work with some.
Yeah,
Trying to get something done, and they were hoping to get approved today.
Okay.
I think they've already done construction out there already.
Yeah, so, anyway.
I would move to approve the 2 plats, the one by Maple River and the one at Brita.
Okay. Got a motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, got a little bit of time before 11. Go down next are the manure management plans. We've got 7 of those today. First one is in section 14 of Glidden Township for Pig Haven. There's no changes there. Next one is in section 25 of Sheridan Township for Ranch Creek. No changes on that one. The third one is section 31 of Arcadia Township, and that's with Birch Fork. There's no changes there. Fourth one is a section 6 of Glidden Township in Timber Lane, Juergens Brothers LLC. This one is just an annual update. The fifth one is with section 14 of Grant Township, and it's CCL Daniel Pork LLC. There's no changes. The sixth one is section 11 of Pleasant Valley Township, and that's with Stone Path Inc. There are no changes there. And the last one is in section 33 of Eden Township with Roe Pork LLC, and that one is an original plan. So that's the manure management plans for today. So I guess with that, the House File 468 Mental Health Advocate. Neil, you want to add that to the agenda?
Sure. I had this added to the agenda. I thought it was important that we discuss this. It's a House file that passed concerning our mental health advocates. And this was discussed at the regional meeting, but I think we have some things we need to understand about it at the local level. And it's changed now that each county, the Board of Supervisors is going to appoint the mental health advocate for each county. And it also goes back, the people they're taking care of, the patients are either taken by residents. So the county or the region that they're in, they're going to pay for the expense of this. And if they have an attorney, as of before, they will assume the responsibilities of the advocate. The thing is, on July 1st, the advocate that you have is automatically appointed according to law, and they are going to be compensated at the compensation that they had been getting, or very close to that, before July 1st. So the unique thing is, in Carroll County, we have Brett Michael, who is our advocate, doing I have not talked or worked with Brett, but everything I've heard, he's doing a very good job. I haven't heard anything bad about Brett. In the region, there's a Sandy Sweeney that's handling the other 6 counties. There's discussion at the Rolling Hills was, wouldn't it make sense to have one health advocate for each region? And in a way, this does make some sense because you know, they'd be submitting I guess there's 2 options. Let's take Sandy Sweeney, for example. Say she's got 6 counties. She's got to submit 6 bills for travel. She's going to get paid by 6 different entities. So you can see how complicated this gets. It would be nice if there was a 28E agreement between these 6 counties so that they would be working for each county, but that responsibility would get moved to a 28E or something like that. And one reasonable thing is to say, well, let's match it all up to the regions. Make it a regional thing where the through contractual agreement, the region would manage the mental health advocate. So that's one option. And we don't have to go that way. I'm just bringing this up. I'm not asking anybody to make a decision today, just to think about it. But the compensation is just hard to figure out when it's done by multiple counties, I think. And maybe it's not that complicated. Maybe Brett can say, okay, here's the patients I've had in Carroll County. Carroll County, here's my bill. I've got 2 patients where I'm mental health advocate attorney is done with them, so I'm helping them, and here's my mileage and time, and please pay the bill. So that's a choice we're gonna have to make. Do we want to, if the region wants 1, do we jump ship and go to 1? Or do we stick with the one we have and say, no, Brett's gonna give us an individual invoice and we're gonna pay that? Or I guess the third option is maybe the other counties that Brett is in, and I think he's got 4 or 5 other counties, are we gonna go to 28E with him and have that separate from the region? So those are the different options that we're talking about. And I think at this point, I should probably call Brett and just get his kickback on it. I don't know the guy, but this is going to involve his livelihood. On July 1st, as the law said, he's going to be employee of Carroll County.
If we do nothing.
No matter what we do.
No matter what we do.
The law says he's going to be our employee on July 1st. We can fire him on July 2nd.
And employed by 5 other counties.
And 5 other counties. They're getting the same thing. So
Okay.
The change is he's our employee. And the problem in the past that they're trying to solve is that these mental health advocates were paid by the county. We were paying this, I'm not sure how, directly or indirectly, but the judicial system was, that's who they answered to, and now they've answered us. So that's the big change. So this is going to perhaps have to be, it's going to be restructured, but on July 1st, he's going to be employee of Carroll County, and he's going to be compensated at a minimum at the advocate's wage and benefit level in place immediately prior to July 1st, 2015. The good news is that these are all part-time, so there's not an insurance issue gets thrown in. So it's basically a hourly payment mileage, what other things
So
are
it'll be
involved.
like it was before.
Hmm?
It'll be like it was before.
Pretty much, except that we will do the hiring and the firing from the future on, but they're gonna be grandfathered in on July 1st.
Before it was the court that picked them.
Yes, before the court's
Oh, okay.
hired.
And as far as the mileage, will the advocate be under the same mileage rates as,
That's interesting.
just a question?
It says by law that they shall be compensated the same as they were, and our mileage is gonna be 80% of the federal rate. I don't know what he's been getting. He's been getting the state rate, maybe, if it is. If he's been getting the 39-cent state rate, that's all we have to pay him. If he was getting the federal rate, we probably have to pay that for the time being anyway. I just did this to generate questions, actually. Information and questions. I don't think you're gonna make a decision. I think my next step is to call Brett and say, hey, what's happening with the other counties? How are they gonna handle you? Or how are you gonna work with them? And, are there any questions that I should be asking him when I call? From perspective of the auditor or future employers?
I have no issue as long as they're timely. Because we have had issues in the past where we had to go around begging for hours and begging for mileage, and that's pain. And if he's willing to be timely with his submittals of his hours and his
Okay.
mileage, then it wouldn't be an issue. But
All right.
you only run payroll twice a month, so.
Yep. In comparison, we've had no issues with Brett in comparison with the other employee who I don't know if he, not, I'll probably won't say what her situation is, but it's a whole different ballgame over there.
We didn't have, and we only worked with him for a short period of time, and then he was submitting it to the region. Seemed like a nice gentleman. He replaced a gal, I believe had some health issues and had to resign, so the gal with the health issues was the one we were having issues with. And a lot of it was probably due to health reasons that we couldn't get what we needed from her. He was right up here right away wanting to get paid, so maybe it won't be an issue.
Okay. As far as with Sandy Sweeney, the other one, the region definitely wants it all to be under one in order to account for mileage and time and things that are actually being done. There's a lot of issues there, to say it lightly.
How long has he been our advocate?
Since maybe June of last year.
You're right, maybe a year.
A year.
Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna give him a call and say, hey, you can understand the situation, do you have any suggestions? And I just wanted to inform the board, so we're all informed, and of course, if you have any questions or that I should be asking him, let me know. Thank you.
Got to think of it is time is the best, because July 1st isn't that far away.
I know it. Well, the governor hasn't signed that bill that long ago either, it just happened.
But we don't really have any action until after July 1st.
No, I'm not asking for any action today. Okay.
Thanks, Neil. Okay, about a minute to 11. We'll go ahead and open up the second reading for the Carroll County Ordinance 39 on the UTV ATV operation. And we kind of reviewed that ordinance last week and went through it. So today we're looking at the second reading. Any comments or questions regarding the ordinance?
My thanks to the members of the media that are getting this word out there. So, and we've had a lot of opportunity for public input. I've received very little. All that I've received is just kind of the same concerns we've already shared here, and that's getting the word out there, you know, that these things are now going to be out there. And
What I've heard is from people who want us to pass something similar to this, although they've not read the details of it.
And I've heard nothing.
I haven't had any comments.
I received 3 calls this last week to move forward with it. You know, we're for it. And I think it's one of those things, it's there. I mean, we're providing an opportunity for the citizens of the county. Tyler, do you have any comments to add?
This time.
Okay. There are none. Any other discussion?
I did get an email from John saying that, let's see here. We didn't publish this prior to the 11th, which was when we had the first reading. So he's saying the second reading can be waived and the third approved in order to adopt, if you wanted to adopt it today. He feels that in view of the two original discussions, he sees no reason to have a third moving forward. But that's just his comment.
I'd agree with that.
So we need a motion to approve the ordinance and waive the third.
Close the
Or we got to
public hearing
close
first.
public hearing first. If there are no other comments,
Yes.
11:02. With that, we need a motion to approve or deny.
I would move to waive the third reading and approve the ordinance number 39.
Second.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second, and this will be a resolution, so it's a roll call.
Dancer?
Yes.
Beardmore?
Yes.
Shetler?
Yes.
Miners?
Yes.
Bach?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thanks, everybody. Okay. Motion's approved.
Kept you around long enough, didn't we?
Once I realized I was early, it was so entertaining, I just thought.
Oh, jeez.
We'll see you next week then.
You're gonna make a fine supervisor someday.
Yeah.
Next week's meeting is on Tuesday, so.
I'll bring a drink and a snack.
Yeah.
There you go.
And John forwarded me a copy to get over to the paper, so it'll be effective. It won't be probably able to get it in today, so it'll be published tomorrow, the 19th.
Okay, with that, we'll go down to community reports. Nina, start off?
Sure. In our Iowa County, there was a good reference material on township. And I also read that he's going to do a legal brief on conflicts of interest compatibility offices, which I think will be interesting when it comes out. And I know we've had some discussion and got involved with Waters of the United States. And last week on Wednesday, the House, on a very bipartisan thing, sent it back, 261 to 155 vote, basically asking the EPA to start over again. And they sent that to the Senate. And we're encouraged to contact our senators and have them vote the same. I don't think there's any issue with our Iowa senators. They're going to vote that way anyhow, but that's where that is right now. As far as more official meetings, on Monday, had a meeting at Mallard View, and Marty called that meeting to order. And we talked with the, there was a board member there from Mallard View, and all of their administrative staff was there, and we talked about the future of Mallard View in light of the fact that they did not get the approval for the as a crisis center. That was a good meeting. Right now, Mallard View has got a 40-plus residents. They're fairly full because a lot of these other entities are closing down, and they're getting all kinds of recommendations. So they're in good shape right now, and I'm glad to hear that. But I still think it was a good meeting, and we're going to meet again in the distant future to just keep watching things, because at some point they're going to have to probably make some type of changes. So thank you, Marty, and Marty attended that meeting as well. Maybe he'll add more in his committee report. Tuesday, Rolling Hills met, and the one thing I won't discuss any further that we did discuss there was the mental health advocate. In other business, Patrick Smith was there. He wanted to go ahead with the purchase of a home to do this crisis prevention or crisis center, not prevention, but the crisis center. And we talked about what happens if everything falls through in a few years, since through this contractual agreement we're buying the home. And we agreed that to get not exactly a lien on the property, but an agreement that if the property would sell in the near future, that we would get some reimbursement for the price of that property. And Roger Saylor, the attorney from Crawford County, the county attorney there, is gonna write up a agreement on that we were gonna look at the next meeting.
Can I interject a question just right there about
Absolutely,
that?
absolutely.
Plains would be purchasing the home, or the region would be purchasing the home?
In the contract with Plains, they had a two-level where we would give them this much money to perform the contract of the crisis center, X amount if they rented one, which they can't find one rented. They found a very reasonably, in level 2 is the amount of money they get if they buy a home. It was a two-tiered thing in their thing. They've elected to go with the purchase of a home. They found a rather large home in Sac City, reasonably priced. So the contract is costing us, it's the more expensive of the two contracts.
But Plains owns the home.
Plains will own the home. The region does not want to own real estate.
Where will this be located?
In Sac City.
Sac City.
Fairly central location. So, clarify that, and it's a good question, Mark. We're not gonna own the home. But if they decide to sell it in a year or don't perform business to our liking in a year, we have helped buy that home and we don't want them to take the money and run. So we want to have some type of agreement that within the first 5 years, if this crisis center location ceases to exist or perform the services and the home is sold, and how we get a pretty good chunk of the proceeds from that. Okay.
But we didn't buy it.
No, but we are upping the amount of the money in the contract so they can buy it.
I see now.
Indirectly, we're buying it, we're paying for it, but they're gonna own it.
It's a second contract.
Right. Okay, am I clear on this? I don't know if I'm.
I'm a little sketchy on it yet, but don't belabor it here. I'll visit with you more this
Okay,
week about it.
the contract provided for us to provide extra money for the purchase of a home. But we don't want to own the home. We don't want to be responsible for maintenance, upkeep, real estate. We don't want to be a landlord or owner. But if the turnaround on this home happens in the near future, since we provided the money, we think we should get some reimbursement of any equity in the house. Okay.
They're basically providing the service.
Yeah.
With that house.
And if they provide this service for 10 years, then we're out of the picture and they own the home.
You understand, I just have apprehension. is
Oh,
all.
we had a
We got
lot of.
perfect track record of the investments we've made over here.
Yeah.
And we owned that going into it. I'm not suggesting we own this home
Mhm.
either. But I am concerned about making a significant investment in order for them to purchase it, and then something happens.
And we had a lot of discussion at the
Neighbors feel the
meeting
same
that.
way.
I
Well, I
stand on
made a
their
comment over
own,
here
stand
that
on
was
their own
not
business
working.
plan, the way I see it.
From that and a lot of other perspectives.
They wanted it.
Yeah.
They said they were gonna do it. Okay.
Okay. All right, in addition to that, New Hope asked us for a rate increase of 3%, plus they wanted to change their mileage from $3.78 per person per one-way trip to $9.29. We did vote for the 3% increase, but not the mileage increase. I just didn't have a good background of how, if it's one person to go from Manning to Carroll, $9.29 is pretty reasonable. If they have a whole bus full of people making a round trip, it seemed like a pretty steep increase, and we're asking Rhonda to give us some more information on the mileage increase before we approve it.
That goes back to the language in that Medicare managed care thing. That language is out of there, that
Okay.
929.
She'll probably bring that to us then.
Mhm.
So we just wanted more clarification, so we did not take action on that part of their request. Then we discussed regional staff salaries and agreed to give the staff, the CEO and the coordinators, a 2% salary increase, 2%. Okay. Then we had a lot of discussion on this mental health advocate situation, and I don't need to rehash that. We had that discussion here and I thought the whole discussion there was perspective of the region. We think the region should each have their own mental health advocate. And I think from a county supervisor, we don't need to take that approach, but we should at least consider it. And that was our meeting. But most of the meeting was about the mental health advocate in the House. There was a lot of discussion on that. Okay. And then on Thursday, Mark and I had case management interviews, and you know how that resulted. Morgan Stoddard was hired. And on Friday, I signed RSVP checks next door, and also discussed our upcoming event on Tuesday. They're having an appreciation dinner. And also I had to work with quite a bit with the management at the 2nd Judicial District. Our manager, Amanda Milligan, worked through Thursday the 7th. She had a baby boy on Friday the 8th. So I'm working now with the assistant or stand-in manager, Joe McNulty. We just had a situation. His big concern right now is the budget, and it's all in limbo with the legislature. And also in our infonet, they had a kind of a nice block that showed how the governor and the senator and the House were looking at their budgets. Basically, the governor's budget is agreed upon to the bottom line by the Senate, but they kind of chop it up in different ways. And the House has a lesser amount that they want to approve, and almost everybody's getting less in their situation. But how it's broke down to the justice system is the best scenario would be a 1.8% increase. A big part of their expenses is salaries. If they only get 1%, 8%, or even a lesser percent under the Senate, or even take a large cut with the House, depending where it ends up, there's going to have to be some changes made. In the past, we've been able to not rehire some people for some lesser important positions, or delay hiring and that type of thing. If the House version goes through, it's going to have to get into services, and we're going to have to decide which services to cut and that type of thing. So that was part of the discussion I had with Joel McNulty, who's the acting manager up there. And also, I was contacted by a person who was let go after hiring a sexual harassment complaint. And so we're in the middle of sorting that out and see where that goes. Not sure where that's going to go. And that was my week, so it was a busy week.
Thanks, Dan. Gene?
Tuesday, I went to along with several of you, to Ames for the RISE meeting, and that went very well. I mean, I don't think they had any better. So that went through, and we got approved on that. Went to Roselle on Thursday. They were paving there to the north side. They've got the first block going east and west from the intersection now is completely paved, and then to the west is paved also. So now they're filling in the intersections this weekend and stuff, and they will be taking the last block and trimming that down and getting that ready to go too. So hopefully we'll be getting out of there here shortly. Then on Friday, had a meeting up at Cherokee, the Yes Center. Things were running pretty smooth up there. They had one issue with one client that they had got to get resolved. It was just a long, drawn-out story, but anyway, we had an average of 9.7 kids here last month, and as of Friday, they had 7. We have had quite a few BIA kids there yet. They've upped their budget again up to $90,000. So it seems like we will definitely be having BIA kids for a while. So they're very happy with that. We did go through the licensure. We had got approved for a 3-year license, and that was all done too. So we're, or I guess I shouldn't say 3 years, it's a 1-year license up there. They don't get a 3. So, and there was no denotations or anything like that, so everything was really good. And so we're kind of flush with money, which is unusual.
That's a nice problem.
So, and what we are going to do too is, it looks like if you have a client that's up there over 30 days, and a normal rate's 150, and once they hit 30 days, it drops to 100. So we're trying that out. That was, oh, and then I think Courtney sent you an email in regard to Manning. I also got a letter to invite you all to Manning on June 5th. For that, so
I got that.
that's my week.
Okay.
Gene, I got a question. Jim Allen from CADC called me Friday, wants to meet with me tomorrow. CADC issue. I don't know if anybody else got called on it. Do you know what it's in regards to? Any new initiative there that I need a heads up on?
They're gonna do looking at doing a housing study, and I'm gonna be on that committee. I found that out. They appointed me to that.
Shannon visited with me a little bit about that last Tuesday. We're gonna get together probably sometime in the next
So
couple weeks.
maybe that's what it's about, I don't know. But they're gonna do a county-wide one, because we're still finding that can't get employees, and that housing's an issue that keeps getting brought up by many companies, so.
So I presume they're looking for funding for that?
Well, that probably could be possibly that. We're just looking at some PR, some prospective groups to do that study, so we haven't, I don't know where we're even at that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Dean?
All I had was the RISE thing over at the DOT. It was a good experience for me to go over there. Be a part of that process. I thought Carroll County was very well represented for that, and it was a good experience for me. Otherwise, that's my week, except for calls about the roads. Saturday.
Hopefully that'll disappear from
Yeah.
now.
I had some calls about the roads, and by Sunday afternoon, they were in
It's
pretty good
taken care
shape. What a change.
Okay, thanks, Dean. Mark?
One of those weeks, Monday was, I attended the DMAC library dedication that they had up there. I think we're all invited to. Just pretty much, it was all covered in the paper, so don't need to give you much on that. And Tuesday was the ambulance board meeting. Pat had reported that they aren't using that new run reporting system. Said they're still trying to work some kinks out, and just my own interjection here, I think he's probably trying to position himself to come back to the board to try and go with the mobile app. So I would just be prepared for that. The big news is PJ Gredeman announced his resignation effective July 1st, and I asked him for a letter on it formally. He said he'd get it to us. Dean, this is where it's going to involve you a little bit, is Sarah Wittry is a member of the ambulance board, and she was at the time represented, when she was appointed, she was representing Breda. You know, how this works is they try to have, representative from Manning, a representative from Coon, and a representative from Breda. But she now lives in Carroll.
Yeah.
And so PJ had reported that Carol Shields of Carroll is willing to to join the board, but that would mean 2 from Carroll. But also, Sarah still has all of her family and all of her connections, and she's in Breda, a lot, and very well connected with that department up there. She said she would still remain as the Breda appointee if we were all in agreement with that, and certainly if Breda was in agreement with that. So we either need to seek a Breda appointee, or we would keep her as the Breda appointee and then, consider having Carol join. I haven't spoken to Carol at all yet, but.
Do you want me to talk to the Breda?
I think that'd be
People there,
appropriate.
yeah,
I mean,
that's-
if they're good with,
Yeah,
leaving.
representation.
Yeah, if they're good with, leaving Sarah
Yeah, that's
on,
fine. Yeah, I can do
then
that.
we'll move forward and, re-gauge Carol's interest again.
Okay.
Okay? And he did, again, he did promise that he would give me a letter of resignation that I would bring to the board. Budget report is revenues with essentially almost, well, 10 and a half out of 12 months of the budget year gone. Revenues are running at 97% of projections, and expenditures are running at 78% of projections. And so, again, keep an eye on those claims. Any questions on ambulance? Wednesday, received a call from Rick Willett. Rick is our is the Teamsters representative. This is about a issue that was brought to his attention here in the county with one of his union members. We know that the Teamsters are represented by the secondary roads and also the Sheriff's Department. Met with Rick quite extensively on Wednesday. I thus had to follow up with the department head and also followed up with Renee. And I know I've individually brought you two guys up to speed on it a little bit. I still need to visit with you guys due to the sensitivity of this. We didn't feel a closed session was merited at this point, but has to do with the potential for a grievance. And so we'll just have to keep an eye on it and hope that it plays out satisfactorily for all parties involved. And then on Thursday, along with Neil, participated in the case management interviews, and that's been said about that. And then on Thursday night was my final library steering committee meeting, so I am finished with that assignment. An eighth option was presented to us that night, so now there were 8 different options. Once again, the charge was for the committee to make a recommendation to the Carroll City Council to either just renovate the existing property, and that recommendation was done at a cost of approximately $700,000, $759,000, I believe it is, and then another option to expand at the location. And so those remaining 7 options were all expansions. This last one was a relatively small expansion, only of about, well, less than 700 feet was all that it would be adding to the space, but a rather considerable renovation of the exterior facade of the facility and providing an east entrance. Once again, as I reported at the last meeting, the library trustees are not in favor of any of the options and thus will not support anything that has been suggested throughout this process. And so now these recommendations were at least made to the City Council, falls within their scope, and they'll make a decision on whether or not they place it on a fall ballot or not. So I remain rather pessimistic that anything will happen. I certainly don't look at it as a waste of time or a lesson in futility. I learned an awful lot about libraries. I also learned quite a little bit more about our role, the county role in libraries. But I personally will just say that I believe with nothing being done there, that this is just continuing to kick the can down the road again. And it will remain a political issue until something gets done. And it sounds to me as though the Board of Trustees aren't satisfied unless it's anything under about 20,000 square feet. And so one of the options was about 15,000 square feet, which came at a cost estimated of about $2.9 million. And it will be only considered by the City Council now, and that has to play out. So I enjoyed my time with it. I don't feel we got anything accomplished, but I did enjoy the time with it, and it was a pleasure to serve. And then on Friday, well, during the week, we received a couple of emails from Brent Mackey about how this process was moving on down the line with Wellmark. And Wellmark has decided to play hardball. And so Courtney and I visited with Brent extensively on Friday afternoon, And what I'm going to seek is your approval for me to follow back up with Ryan Bruner. Ryan would be Teresa's boss. The official title there, Courtney, he has a boss, but he's the decision maker. Essentially, what is happening is they claim that First Administrators was an approved administrator and reinsurer, and they were eliminated. Wellmark chose to eliminate them about 3 years ago, and so they're no longer an administrator, a plan administrator, and so now Wellmark does all of their own, and they said since then they do not allow counties or any of their insured to seek a reinsurance provider. Brent said if that were me, he goes, I would jump up and down and scream and make a case that there has been, he knows of 2 other counties that have been provided that, plus a host of other employers. So they pick and choose who they allow to do that as a reinsurance company. He recommends, quote unquote, to tell Wellmark to either match it or to allow us to make the change. Their counter proposal would provide us with approximately $19,000 in savings. However, by matching it, that would provide yet an additional $25,000 in savings, or back to the $46,000. He believes that there has been a precedent set before this that should allow this, and he said that in doing so that they are denying both the employees and the taxpayers of the savings of which they should enjoy. So I had suggested, do I make a phone call? And he said that'd be fine. He said, or you could email them. I think in retrospect, after I've been thinking about it over the weekend, I think it's best to do so in writing. So with your approval, I will tactfully and diplomatically defend Carroll County in this quest.
Our taxpayers is not a high priority to them. It is just is to us.
Sure.
Good luck.
I'd say move forward with it.
I worked too hard to come to this point and give up.
Well, and I was reading this last part, and it says, in recent years, due to some unique situations, Wellmark has allowed some employer groups outside stop-loss opportunities with prior approval, and the exception decisions did not involve the condition of rate increase. Meaning, we allow some people to do it, but
Yeah, that's very diplomatically written from their perspective.
I don't see how they can say yes.
But, you know, they have an issue with us because our cost has gone up just a few years ago and kind of come back down, and they're saying, yeah, they're trying to recover a loss.
Right.
That's exactly what Brett said.
But the companies that we're looking with says, well, that was kind of an exceptional year, and we're going to go with your standard, the averages.
Did you find out if we were with First Administrators?
I found this stuff on Wellmark.
Okay.
That's been quite a while ago. It could be down in the basement.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe Joan remembers.
I was gonna say, I can ask her.
I'm sure she would know if we were. And I meant to email her, and
I'm in favor, Mark, of you continuing on and contacting them. You can't lose anything by doing that.
You have my support as well.
Thank you. So, I'll move forward with that. And then, I think that was my week.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Last Monday evening had Wesco board meeting, their annual picnic. Had election of officers. Steve Allman is going to remain as president, and vice president. Treasurer was Sue Barnes was elected as treasurer, and Bernie O'Cruel is going to remain as a secretary. Pretty short meeting. Other than that, we just kind of went over the bylaws and policies and adopted those and voted on that, and that was pretty much Monday evening's meeting. And then also on Monday met with Neil with Mallard View it's kind of interesting, I think it was a good meeting also. It kind of gives us a way that we need to look forward as time goes on. There's a lot of unknowns there. Neil talked a little bit about the crisis service home in Sac City, and then the other thing we talked about with Mallard View is maybe moving forward there with transition services. And this is basically just a short-term stay, and we'll know more on that as time goes on. I mean, nothing's really set in stone there as far as what's going to happen yet. They also talked a little bit about, as Neil mentioned, there's still 40 clients in Mallard View, and a lot of that has to do with the mental health facilities closing. There's 3 of them that have closed. Duncan Heights, which is over by Fort Dodger in that area, and then Mahaska County and Norris Springs, those 3 have closed their RCFs. So I think we talked a little bit. We'll probably get together, as Neil mentioned. It'll probably be in August when we talk about our next meeting. Hopefully by July 1 we'll know more what's going to happen and kind of go from there. Then on Tuesday, had a landfill board meeting, and first we talked about the discussion on employee wages and benefits for 2015-16. We approved a 3% salary increase there. We talked a little bit about hiring new employees. They had 18 applications, so they're going to start interviews this week on that. Talked a little bit about a change order on the new cell construction. There's a manhole that we had to move in order to accommodate the new cell, and so that change order had to be put in. The final completion on the new cell, they're hoping for August 1st to be done with the new cell, so having everything done, weather permitting. Talked a little bit, Mary gave us an update on environmental management systems. We've got an internal audit that was done last week by FOE. We'll have another one, an external audit done by DNR, and that's going to be done the 4th of June. And then hopefully we'll have all the reports back by July, and then she'll relay that information back to the board. Talked a little bit on the bird flu issue. We are not accepting the animals or the birds from the bird flu. Mary sent me an email. Most of those are going up to Cherokee, and I also brought up about the wood chips, and we're not going to get involved in that also, because we have a lot of our wood chips probably checked out of Denison and Costers, or we're going to leave that up to the private industries to take care of that, providing the wood chips for the compost piles of the animals. So I talked a little bit about transportation for inmate labor. We have the inmates from Rockwell City come down, and they're having trouble finding people to drive the vehicle to bring it down, so we're trying to figure out an avenue there that we can still maintain utilizing the Rockwell City inmates. So next month, the City of Ottoman is going to be coming forward to talk a little bit about the landfill doing direct haul to the Carroll County solid waste. So that's basically going to be on the agenda for next week or next month. And then on Tuesday also went over to Ames to DOT for the RISE project for the Ralston paving project, which will be let in June. So it was very interesting going to that meeting. It's kind of interesting visiting with one of the commissioners, David Rose, affiliated with him through the Highway 30 Coalition. He was in support of us bringing more RISE projects to him in the future, so that was a good invitation. So hopefully we can continue down that path to receive funding for some of these projects that we have in Carroll County. So, and that's pretty much my week. Also, I got...
The other thing is that you talk about that Cherokee landfill.
Yeah.
I understand they're putting a big incinerator up there now already.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, also today we got a letter from the City of Helber. They've got a Helber Housing Urban Renewal meeting, and that is going to be tomorrow night at 5 o'clock at Helber City Hall. I'll just pass that around if anybody's interested in going to that. They want a representative from here, or otherwise written comments. So,
I'm going to add 2 things, if you don't mind, Marty.
Go ahead, Neil.
We got a letter from the Dickinson County. Basically, they'd sent a question out some time ago about what do you feel about fixing the master matrix situation to give us more or less power or something. And when they sent it out, and they said they'd tell us what the replies were. And it's just kind of interesting to read what different counties who replied commented on that. And also, we got a letter from Rolling Hills. Another item of our agenda is we've had some contracts with different people. Lisa Bringle in Cherokee County is one, and Rosie Stotts in Carroll County is another one. The region has approved their contracts, but technically we don't have a contract approved between the region and the county to allow payments. That needs to be approved by our Board of Supervisors. So I'll just have that put on our agenda for next Tuesday.
Okay, anything else? Courtney, do you have anything? Any comments from those in attendance? Okay, with that, we're ordered for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.